Okay, it's officially 10 after. Greetings, everyone, brothers and sisters. Tonight it is October 11th, 2022. So 8:10 p.m. And this will be our officers training for UNIA-ACL. Brother Charles, if you could, well, we're about to do the players, so you fine. First thing we do when we open up our meetings is, well, at least in Division 421, we always
You need to raise the volume.
red, black, and green. So if you would, please repeat after me. I commit my body, mind, and spirit.
I think I
Commit my body, mind, and spirit
To the protection, defense, and security
to the protection, defense, and security
of the red, black, and green.
of the red, black, and green.
I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa
I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa
and the liberation of her scattered Black children.
And
and
liberation
the
of her scattered Black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants
I accept
myself and my descendants
the teachings of universal African nationalism
the
teachings of universal African nationalism.
and I promise that our children will be instilled
And I promise that our children will be instilled
It's not shrinking.
with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people.
with
The purpose and the knowledge of themselves as African people.
Well,
We shrink it.
yeah.
In order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail
In order that our cause of struggle will neither falter nor fail
until all Black people are free and united
until
all
Black
people are free and united
To get it
to
back,
one
if I
God,
get to get to
one God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny.
one destiny.
Race first.
First.
Okay, so tonight, if you could mute your lines again, get ready to ask questions and everything, but just mute your lines for now. Let's see. Tonight we're going over, we're reviewing lesson 1 and then we'll read lesson 2. I want to make sure I get the title of lesson 1. Title lesson 1, Intelligence, Education, Universal Knowledge, and How to Get It. So this is the lesson that we read last week. I asked, all participants to review that lesson throughout the week. And now we will, as a group, go over some questions that I pulled out in my reading in hopes that we get a level of understanding of what Garvey is trying to communicate. So without further ado, first question, when must we stop learning and stop reading?
Never.
Brother Macias, correct. You must never stop learning. You must never stop reading. No one is ever too old to learn. This lesson, from my experience, I didn't value this lesson as much as I should have. We have to consider the fact that Marcus Garvey chose this as the first lesson, the foundation for everything else that comes out of this text. So just don't underestimate the information in this lesson.
So what do I do to get up?
Second question, what is Garvey's view on poetry? How does Garvey say we should look at poetry?
How do I get up?
Anybody? Garvey's view on poetry?
We should read it for inspiration.
There we go. Read for inspiration. Read the best poetry for inspiration. Always select the best poets for your inspirational urge. Correct. What's Garvey's view on history? How did Garvey describe history or emphasize the importance of history?
No, I want for them to know that I'm on.
What did Garvey say about history?
Read incessantly. until you master it.
Read incessantly until you master history. Yes. Why is it important?
Did you ask that?
Yeah, that's why is history important?
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Why is history important, everybody? So we know who we are?
So we know
Oh,
who we
no.
are.
No, so
And-
that you can stand up and stand up to those, so you know what you're talking about, and you can speak from a position of authority and can't be back down. You can take your position and stand on it.
Yes.
That's
Yes, I'm with you on that. One of the other things that I remember Garvey talking about, and I hope I wrote it down here, but he says we can't learn everything in one lifetime. So we have to depend upon the histories of those that came before us in order to have a wealth of knowledge.
oh yeah. He said personal experience is not enough.
Yes.
We need to.
So read history incessantly until you master it. Primarily the history of man. You can only make the best of life by knowing and understanding it. To know, you must fall back on the intelligence of others who came before you and have left their records behind. Okay. What does Garvey say about language?
You should learn the language of so that you speak well.
Pretty much.
Master the language of your country.
Yes, both of y'all are correct. To be able to read intelligently, you must first be able to master the language of your country. Grammar and science of language, he says we should look at it every 6 months. Those who hear you become distinguished and will not become disgusted and will not pay much attention to you, but in their hearts laughed after you. So communication, speaking is an important part of what we have to do. So we should understand, study the language that we speak so that when we do it well. Number 5, what subjects should we never write about or speak about and why?
The ones we don't know about.
Why not?
There's always somebody that'll laugh at you and mock you who knows more about the subject.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Garvey says, never write or speak on a subject you know nothing about, for there's always somebody who knows that particular subject to laugh at you or to ask you embarrassing questions that will make others laugh at you. Never, therefore, attempt anything without being able to protect yourself on it. For every time you are defeated, it takes away from your prestige and you are not as respected as before. So we should not speak on things that we don't know about. Okay. Next, number 6. Let's see, I think it's here. Number 6, how often should we read and when is the best time to read?
We should read every day. The best time is right before we go to sleep. I believe how should we read? At least an hour per day, I believe that was, but at least every day. And
4 hours.
No.
I heard 1, I heard 4.
It's 4.
They should read at least 4 hours a day.
It's 4 hours. And yes, you are correct, Brother Everett. Best time is before bed. That's what Garvey says. Do we know why? Well, I guess we don't need to go into why.
No, you do.
Why?
One of the reasons you should read before you go to bed is because everything you read goes into your subconscious mind.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Third Assistant PG. That's what I got from the text as well. When we read at night, it goes into our subconscious as we sleep. What does Garvey say about the company that we keep?
Leave the white people alone.
That's in a later lesson. This is just lesson 1.
Was it always stay with people that are more intelligent than you or something like that? I don't know how to phrase it. I know I'm kind of close.
Learn from.
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty much. Garvey says, never keep the constant company of anybody who doesn't know as much as you. Always try to associate with people from whom you can learn something. So we shouldn't be around the wrong type of people we can't learn from. What two things must be done in the desire to accomplish greatness? This is a quote from the text.
We're supposed to quote. We can't just give you an answer.
Well, no, you can give me an answer. I'm just saying the actual Garvey says something specifically.
Okay. One, you must decide what direction you want. So what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
And two, you gotta work on it and accomplish. So you gotta work towards it, keep it in view at all times until you get it.
Yes.
Be focused.
Yeah, so absolutely correct, Secretary General. According to the text, first you decide in your own mind in what direction you desire to seek that greatness. When you have decided in your own mind, work unceasingly towards it. So the path to greatness, what we have to do, figure it out and then work unceasingly until we achieve it. Next question, where is all the knowledge that you want and how do we find it?
In the library.
Library?
In a book.
Books.
Library, though. I think it said library.
Library books. It's in the, I think it says in the world.
Yeah, he says it's in the world.
All the knowledge you want is in the world. I mean, that includes libraries. And all you have to do is go seeking it and never stop until you have found it. So basically, if there's something out there that we want or we want to know, it's up to us, to go seeking for it. But it's out there. This is one of my favorite questions. What does Garvey say is the value of knowledge? What is the value of knowledge?
The value of knowledge is to use it.
Absolutely. Yes. The value of knowledge is to use it.
Can you say it's power? Knowledge is power.
You can, but
I know that's what he said is to use it.
Yeah, I like.
And before that, he did say knowledge is power.
That's true. But the thing is, what I've gotten into is we get into, everybody's a scholar in something, but nobody's doing anything. So what's the value of that knowledge if we're not applying it? So that's why I like the way Garvey puts it. If we really have knowledge in whatever it is, we should be doing it.
I think Garvey got that from I was going to say Booker T, but it's not Booker T. My mind just went blank on his name. He was coming over here to the U.S. to meet him, and he died before he got here.
That sounds like Booker T.
Was it Booker T? Yeah, Booker T. It was Booker T. My good goodness, I thought I had it. Getting them senior moments, boy, I tell you. But yeah, he came over because Booker T. Washington was trying to impress upon people that not only knowing something was important, but to be able to use the knowledge in a practical way. Yep. And that attracted Garvey.
Yep. Yeah, we kind of get egotistical as a people sometime and, say, I got a degree in this. So, people should just listen to everything that you're saying. But, if you're not applying that knowledge, what's the real value of it? Okay. Next question. In reading, is it necessary to agree with everything that we read and why?
No, and I don't remember the exact way it was stated, but if you agree with everything that you read, then you could never excel past that reading. You can never achieve a higher standard, and that's the goal, to always go beyond what you've just read.
Okay, I'm with you. Anybody else?
I believe it was something to the fact of apply your own meaning to it. That's all I can remember.
Okay. Anybody else want to give a shot? Y'all aren't wrong.
I think they're both right. I agree with you, but he said about reasoning, you use your reasoning, because you could be looking at old information and it doesn't have to be correct.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, is the updated aspect of it. Well, he says, no, you can apply your own reasoning, but he also says, the things that we know change with time. So what was true, at one time they thought the world was flat. So, what was true at one time isn't necessarily true today or tomorrow. All right. What should we be doing in our spare time?
Reading.
Educate ourselves.
What was that second one?
We should be trying to educate ourselves.
Okay. Y'all both
Read a lot.
Yes. Use every spare minute. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
And become knowledgeable.
Yes.
By reading and understanding what we read.
Yes. Garvey says in our spare time, we should be using every spare minute we have in reading. And he also repeats, don't waste time. So, and he, later he talks about keeping reading material on you at all times, so that if you do have a spare moment, you have something to read. All right, this slide is a little smaller. These are the last questions. It's up to 22. So number 13, what other languages should we read to understand English? What does Garvey say the other languages we should read?
Latin.
Latin. What was the other one?
French.
Yeah, Latin and French.
Yes. Latin and French. I threw German in there, but yeah, Latin and French is the right answers. That's what Garvey says. What do the greatest men and women in the world burn?
The midnight oil.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Greatest men and women in the world burn the midnight lamp. But yeah, it's just, as he said earlier, it should be spending time, before we go to bed reading. So Garvey, in his time, he would stay up late at night reading, such that when he woke up in the morning, he would have more information than his peers. Number 15, why should we study multiple subjects?
So we can be well versed in our conversation.
Pretty much. By doing this week after week, month after month, year after year, we'd be so learned in liberal arts as to be ready and fit for your place in the affairs of the world. But, Garvey says, earlier he says that we should not speak on things that we don't know. And then here he says we should study multiple subjects so that we're well versed. I don't know if it's in the next lesson or if it's in lesson 4. I think it is in next lesson. He talks about as a leader, we have an obligation to speak when that opportunity is given to us. So if we have an obligation to speak and we can't speak on things that we don't know about, that means that we should be well versed, such that when we do have an opportunity to speak, no matter what it's about, we have something to say. But yeah, we got to be well versed and well rounded. Why should we keep?
He talks about that in elocution.
Okay, yeah. Number 16, why should we keep our private libraries secure?
Because people steal.
You never
Any additional?
Never let anybody the book that you want. You will never get it back.
Absolutely.
Never allow anybody to go to your bookshelf in your absence, because the very book that you may want most may be taken from the shelf, and you may never be able to get that one of a kind again.
Yes.
That's right.
So yeah,
We all experienced that one.
Let's not even talk about that.
But we have an obligation.
Somebody use your books, huh?
We have an obligation as leaders and as representatives to have these resources available when needed. So if we're not protecting these resources, we'll lose them and we won't have them when we need them. So we got a responsibility to secure our libraries. What book does Garvey suggest us to read a chapter of every day?
The Bible.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And yes, sir. Read a chapter of the Bible every day. Now, I'm not, well, I'm not even going to just, that's what Garvey says. What does Garvey recommend? Oh, how does Garvey recommend that we approach books written by white authors?
Never swallow wholly what the white man writes or says without first critically analyzing it and investigating it.
Yes, sir.
Because he doesn't do anything that doesn't serve him.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, he said, be aware of the fact that these books are not written for our particular benefit or for the benefit of our race. So yes, never, as Brother Anthony said, never swallow wholly what the white man says without first critically analyzing it and investigating it. So yes, we should not be. Yeah, I'm not even going to. All right. Number 19, what should be the dominant point of view?
Hey, on 18, I just want to add that Mr. Garvey ends up saying, beware, beware, beware.
Thank you for that, Secretary General. But yeah, I could talk about that a lot, but I'm not going to do that. 19, what should be the dominant point of view in our search for knowledge and why?
Knowledge
how we can use the knowledge to benefit our race.
Anyone else? Yes, Brother Charles. Yes.
Yep.
Garvey says the Negro point of view, you are a Negro striving for Negro supremacy in every department in life, so that any truth you see or any facts you gather must be twisted to suit the Negro psychology of things. So the introduction or the preface in the foreword talked about how Garvey was trying to instill an Afrocentric point of view. So any information that can be used for the benefit of the race. That's what we should be searching for when we're pursuing knowledge. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay. Number 20, what historical...
Got a hand up.
Brother, Lady President Mukaraba, I'm sorry.
Unmute yourself.
Lady President, you're on mute.
I was just going to say that you seek knowledge so that you can have more pride in yourself and confidence and knowledge of your history, so that you can have more self-esteem and pride in yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I like that word you use, confidence. But yeah, I think that's part of what Garvey is communicating in this lesson, is us understanding history, understanding our greatness in history, and carrying that into modern time so that we can be confident not only in who we are, but who our ancestors are and what we come from. So number 20, what historical sources show that Black was an important color among the races? What historical sources show that Black was an important color among the races?
Ancient Egyptian culture was one.
I'm gonna say the Bible.
I think y'all, between those two, you're correct. Yeah, so the Bible and ancient Egypt talked about the pharaohs, the Sphinx, the features of ancient Egyptians. But we should be able to tap into the greatness, whether you tend to gravitate towards the Bible or Egypt. we should be able to tap into the greatness of our history and have something to be proud of today. Okay, what argument? What argument does Garvey provide to prove that the Black race is the oldest race?
Your black skin.
They said that. Why is the black skin the oldest?
Because over time, your skin get dark over time, and he talked about caves, and they weren't able to get the melanin. But
yeah, he talked about aging over time and how babies are pale in the womb. But he said your argument is that in nature, everything by the way of age darkens. Because you are darker than the rest of men proves logically that you are older than the rest of men. So this is Garvey's beliefs. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay.
Well, one of the things science has proven that melanin existed in ancient cultures, the oldest ancient cultures that they have found. So that means that everybody was black before they were any other color.
Yeah. And I was actually amazed because the way that I've known, or the way mainstream, the conscious community has come to know that ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet was African was through Sheikh Anta Diop. But from what I understand, his information wasn't published until after Garvey had transitioned. So Garvey was definitive on this information prior to it being accepted, in the science world. But that's kind of amazing to me. Okay. Next question, and there are a couple other questions that I added. So it's two more questions after this. Why does Garvey say that the Black race has a special claim to Jesus and the cross?
Because he said he made us in his own image. So he's black.
And
through Simon
of Syria.
Yeah, it's through Simon Cyrenian was what Garvey said. Garvey actually talked about the race of Jesus in later chapters, but he was of the opinion that he was multiracial, but he did have to have some Negro blood in him based on the lineage. So, but that's in a later chapter. Why does Garvey say that the Black race has a special claim to Jesus and the cross? In the text, Garvey says it was the Black race through Simon the Black Cyrenian who befriended Jesus, the Son of God, and took up the cross and bore it alongside of him. The cross is the property of the Negro in his religion because it was he who bore it. These things cannot be argued in history. So these are claims that we hold true and we hold as a source of pride. If our people wish to claim the cross, or if they don't, that's on them. But Garvey's just saying we have a legitimate claim. There were three other questions that I added as I continued to read the text in preparation for the class tonight. Baba J. Greetings, Baba J. Baba J. I got it. That is our colonel for our Legion in Division 421. Why should we study sociology? Garvey talked about that. He said it's important to know about sociology. Why should we study sociology?
That's right there too.
But he said
to find your relationship with other races, I think, cultures or something.
Yes. Let me jump over. So on page 16, Garvey says, you must pay great attention to sociology. Get the best books on the subject that you can and read them thoroughly. Find out the social relationships among other races so that you may know how to advise your people in their social behavior. So Garvey says that we, sociology is important. We should understand it. Next question. What happens when we constantly read facts?
They become true.
They're already true. They're facts.
You say it becomes fact. I was thinking about if you constantly repeat something over and over again, it becomes facts.
Yeah, but that's different.
That doesn't make it a fact.
That's not it.
But fact by definition means it's the truth. So it's true.
Why should we constantly read?
By the constant reading of these facts, they will be planted in your subconscious mind, and you will be able to use them without even knowing that you're using them, that you're doing it.
Correct. Yes.
And when you read a lot, then you are knowledgeable about a certain subjects, and you can speak on things that you have knowledge upon.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So yes, again, just reiterating, the importance of constantly seeking information and reviewing that information. Last question: What is the world attracted to?
Beauty, either in art or expression.
Yep.
Absolutely. The world is attracted to beauty. And I think, the way I internalize this lesson, when we put it all together, Garvey, is, when we become these, when we internalize these, mute your lines, please. Okay. Okay. The way I understood it, let me go to the text and we'll read it together, the last part.
Yeah. It almost comes down to good speech, medu nature, to read, think, and speak beautiful things.
Yes.
So
yes. And I think, that's what Garvey is trying to build in us, such that when we do speak, the level of intelligence that we display becomes a thing of beauty, and it becomes something that the world is naturally attracted to. So that's all I got for lesson 1. Any questions or comments on anything that we went through today? No questions, everybody? Okay. Feel like we got through that lesson thoroughly. All right. With that.
Oh, I have a question now. This is one I don't know. And maybe Brother Charles has this information. Elbert Hubbard's scrapbook. I've not seen it.
Elbert.
Brother Charles, are you familiar with it?
I think I know what you're talking about. It talks about different lessons that Garvey gave. Is that the one you're talking about?
I don't know. He mentions it in the reader. Let me find my book.
I think
Yeah,
the tragedy of white.
Say again?
I think there's a workbook that he created.
Okay.
And it basically kind of reads like, I'm trying to think what book it kind of follows, but it gives different lessons, just like we're doing now, from readings of Garvey, if I'm not mistaken.
It says it contains valuable inspiration. Get a copy of this book. It's right at the end of lesson 1. Keep going right before that, right there. You see it at the top?
Oh, Elbert Hubbard's scrapbook. Okay. I thought you were saying L. Ron L. Ron.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Not Hubbard.
Scientology. What? Doing?
Wait, is that the that science stuff?
Yeah, that's
Scientology.
Scientology. L.
That's
Ron.
Scientology.
Elbert Hubbard. I don't know. This is. I don't really.
Some parts of his book is a good read too. He ain't as crazy as folks thought he was.
Okay.
Albert Hubbard.
I ain't trying to take nobody in that direction though.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. Not facts. A very important experience and record at the end of a life. You may have a volume of great value, such as Albert Hubbard's scrapbook. Yeah, and something to look into. Get a copy of this book. So yeah, I guess we need to do that. We'll do that. Thank you, Secretary General, for pointing that out.
Yeah.
All right, with that, I guess we can go into our reading for lesson 2. This should, I think it's going, I don't know, it seems kind of long when I'm going through it. Brother,
No,
make
it's not long.
Okay.
We'll get through it.
Thank you, my brother. Wait 1 second, got something in. Okay, thank you, Brother Everett. He dropped
Thank you, Brother Everett.
scrapbook in the chat, or at least a link. Brother Macy's, you have the floor.
Lesson 2, leadership. To lead suggests that you must have followers. For others to follow you, you must be superior to them in the things that they must follow you for. You must have superior ability in the particular. You must always be ahead by way of knowledge of all those you lead. The moment you fall down from the position of superior ability, you will automatically fail to lead and you will have to follow others. Therefore, you must be ever vigilant in keeping ahead of those you lead by getting the latest and most correct information for which they are searching, because for it, they are following you. People only respect leaders and follow them when there is something superior in them. A leader must have personality. He must be clean cut in his appearance so as not to be criticized. An untidy leader is always a failure. He must be neatly dressed and his general appearance must be clean and presentable because people are supposed to follow him in his manner, behavior, and his general conduct. A leader's hair should always be well kept. His teeth must always be in perfect order, for people will criticize him for his unkept hair and his bad teeth. Your shoes and other garments must also be clean. If you look ragged, people will not trust you. They will critically say, he has no clothing. His shoes are very poor. And it is logical that whatever money he gets hold of, he will use it on himself rather than for the purpose for which he makes his appeal. Never show your personal poverty to those you lead. They will never trust you. This does not mean that you should not reveal the poverty of the cause you represent, because that cause is your cause and the people's cause, in which both of you are interested. Never tell lies to those you lead. Sooner or later, they will find you out, and then your career will come to an abrupt end. No man ever trusts a person a second time, whom he disbelieves once and has proof for his disbelief. A leader under all circumstances must carry himself with dignity. He must not be a snob, but he must maintain his pride. A leader cannot well afford to mix himself up with anything that is not dignified or self-respecting. If you have to do something that you know you will be morally and socially ashamed of, if someone else knows, never do it. But if you have to do it, see to it that you are careful that no one else knows. Don't carry your weakness on your face or in your eyes. Somebody will detect it and you will be ruined. If you have personal weaknesses, try to conquer them and hide them as long as you can until you have conquered them. Otherwise, you will be ruined. Every man can conquer his vices by bringing his subconscious will to play upon and against such vices. In everything you do, play the gentleman. Never be a hog. It doesn't pay. You lose a friend every time you play the hog. Keep smiling with the world, even though your mother is dead. Smile with the world and the world will smile back at you. Be vexed with the world and the world will be vexed with you. Nobody is obligated to you to make you happy. So don't carry your sorrow to the world and on your sleeve. Keep them to yourself and get out of them the best way you can. Leaders are not children. They must not, therefore, act as children. Leaders must be self-possessed, confident, feeling self-reliant. When your followers see that self-confidence, they will believe in you, and follow you. Always speak out right from your head and from your heart. If your heart is not in it, it is a lie. If your head is not in it, it is pure sentiment. Your heart and your head must work together. People observing you can always tell when you are insincere. That is, when you speak from your heart and your head. They can always tell when you are fooling them by looking into your eyes and you cannot stand their gaze. At that time, indeed, you are lying. When your heart and your head is in it, your whole body expresses the truth and you can hold any man's stare. A leader must not be extravagant. He must not be flashy in the sense of being over sporty. People will not think you're serious. Always make your followers believe you are serious. You can be serious without being sour. Always think before you speak or act. Don't write or speak just to hear yourself. Speak or write only when you have something to say, and never touch anything by way of leadership that you do not know about, because somebody who knows about it will have a joke at your expense. A leader must always have something to say. Otherwise, he forfeits his leadership and someone else who has something to say will supplant it. A leader should always make an effort to be known in his community. He must acquaint himself with everything that is happening. He must know the governor of the state or country, the secretary of his state or his colonial secretary. He must know the mayor of his city and all the members of the legislature. He must know the bishops of his city, the administrative heads of all government departments, all the preachers and doctors and lawyers and prominent businessmen. Don't be seen with communists too often if you know them. Never take part in their meetings unless you are to make a speech against their principles, and always see that it is known by the public that is your only reason for going among them. Never let them call you comrade for others to hear, because you will be branded a communist and your leadership will be destroyed. You must seek to know all the people you want to be in your organization. Visit them in their homes, their workplaces, and anywhere you can meet them, and always extend to them a glad hand. Always be diplomatic in your approach. If a Negro is in company with a white man, never talk to him about the UNIA. If he's in company with someone you think is not in sympathy with the UNIA, don't talk to him about the UNIA. Wait until he is alone. Never say anything to one person who may be in sympathy with the UNIA in the presence of 2 or 3 people, unless you know that the others are also sympathetic. Because when you are gone, the others may try to undo the good relationship. But when you meet Negro strangers, you may talk to all of them about the aims of the UNIA, try to win them over. Never divide or create confusion between the different colors in Negro races. Always try to prove that the standard Negro is the African, and that all Negroes should be proud of their black blood without insulting any color within the race. This is very, very important. The idea of the UNIA is to unite into one race, all the shades of color, and build up a standard race. You should discourage intermarriage between white and blacks and other races. You should tell the people that it is an honor to be black, and that nothing is wrong with the black skin but bad conditions. Tell them that a well-kept black woman or black man is as good as a well-kept white man or woman. Never allow your followers to have their children play with white dolls, because they will grow up to like white children and they will have them. Discourage the Negroes from having white pictures in their homes, because those pictures will inspire them to become white in their ideas. Inspire them to have pictures of Negroes who have achieved greatness in their homes. Tell Negro parents that they must teach their children Negro history, Negro pride, and self-respect in their homes to counteract the elementary and high school education they get that holds up the superiority of the white race. Let the people know that God is not white, nor is he black, but God is a spirit and universal intelligence, of which each and every one is a part. All of us are a part of that intelligence. No man can have the full intelligence of God, only partial intelligence. Therefore, no man can be God. Neither the white man nor the black man is God. They are particles of God. Let the people know that
that in them and in themselves only is the power to rise. Let them know that God does not go out of his way to give people positions or jobs or to give them conditions such as they desire. They must do that for themselves out of the fullness of nature that God has created for everybody. God does not build cities, towns, nations, homes, or factories. Men and women build them. And all those who want them must work for themselves and pray to God to give them strength to do it. Once.
Brother Macy's.
My apologies, family. Special notes on intermarriage and race purity. For a rich Negro to marry a poor white is an unpardonable crime and sin, because it simply means that transference of the wealth of the race to another and the ultimate loss of the wealth to the race. It is logically evident that if the Negro is rich, he gained all or most of his wealth from his race. Therefore, to ignore the opposite sex of his race and intermarry with another race is to commit a crime or sin for which he should never be pardoned by his race. Teach the people to abhor such Negroes. Have nothing to do with them so long as they continue of the relationship. This must be done diplomatically, not to the hearing of the white race. For safety, let the advice take the form of a whisper campaign. Don't say it from the platform. Whisper it right through the neighborhood and never stop until the burden of your campaign is felt by the individuals, so as to teach them a good lesson that others may not do the same thing with impunity. For a Negro man to marry someone who does not look like his mother or is not a member of his race is to insult his mother, nature, and God, who made his father. The best tribute a race can pay to nature and God is to preserve its species. When it does otherwise, is in rebellion. Don't be in rebellion. It went away. Don't be in rebellion against God, nature, or your parent that you know of. They came before you and should have known better. Insist on a campaign of race purity, that is doing everything moral and social within the race. Close ranks against all other races. It is natural that it is a disgrace to mix your race with other races. To split up the race is unwholesome and does not tend to morally dignify the race. It will be a beautiful thing when we have a standard Negro race. In preaching race purity, be very careful because it is a delicate subject. Most of the people are ignorant of this idealism. You must never put color within the race against color. You must never insult any color within the race. Whatever has happened in the past was without our consent, and truly because slavery and the wicked damnation of the white man imposed upon us moral behavior that we could not restrain. Now that we know better, it is for us to adjust these things within our own race. Teach the people to respect all shades of their own race and never to have prejudice against anyone because he is black, brown, yellow, or any shade that whites claim is not white. Never allow any other race to preside over your affairs. If they come as visitors, they must conduct themselves as visitors. They must never have executive control over you or in your affairs, because they will always say and do the things to suit themselves that are against your interests, even though they profess the greatest amount of friendship. They swear on the Bible, don't believe them. They swear in God, don't believe them. Accept their friendship for all it's worth to you, nothing more. Their interests as a race can never be yours. Whether they be Europeans, Asiatic, Jews, or whatever, never trust a Jew. Don't let them know that. He's playing the odds against you all the time. He plays with loaded dice. His cards are marked. You can never win against him. Make this secret whisper propaganda in every community. In every community, when you go into a Negro house, home, whisper all the time that the Jew is bad. Flatter him as he flatters you and robs you. Never give him a square deal because he is never going to give you one. Tell him how much you love his people and how kind and nice his people are. Get all you can from him and give him nothing back except good words and pleasant smiles. This is his policy. The policy of the Jew is
If he sees a Gentile dying on the pathway and a penny covers his eye as a hope for recovery, he will take it off and let him die. He will not do this to a Jew. You have your answer to this. Treat him similarly. Always try to get something from the Jew because he has always robbed you and your fathers, and that he believes he is the chosen of God, and as such, all other men must pay tribute to him. This is false and fictitious. It is Jewish propaganda. Ignore it and let him pay tribute to you if tribute must be paid.
Amen.
That's one of my favorite lessons. It's a whole bunch of them, but that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. If we could just learn that one lesson, we'd be miles ahead. The history of our athletes and entertainers have shown us about this history.
Oh, I was on mute talking. Sorry. Any questions or comments on what we just finished reading, lesson 2, leadership?
Time and time again, we have seen the white ladies get with the athletes and then divorce them and take their money.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Tiger Woods or almost any of them, really. Well, some of them stayed black.
Yeah, Kanye.
Some of the girls too went to white men. I think it was Diane Carroll, one of them. And
both Diana, that's Diana Ross too.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Don't mention that one.
Yeah. One of the things I'm familiar with from Garvey's Philosophies and Opinions, I believe he's got a, I think it's from there, but he talks about, one of his essays is called The Ideal State. But in that lesson or lecture, he talks about a hall of infamy. And like we have a hall of greatness, is like a hall of traitors, and we were supposed to, kind of highlight this behavior and condemn that behavior when it comes to what we teach the children.
Let's talk about it real loud, but let's try not to offend those black women and men.
Yeah.
Let's just paint the picture for them and let them try and see it for themselves, but be real firm when you're talking about it with them.
Yes, ma'am. It's unacceptable and something we've been dealing with far too long, but the interracial in itself, it is what it is, but I like how Garvey put it. When we have wealth and we intermarry, we're taking wealth out of our community and giving it to our oppressors. So anybody else have any questions, comments? We're probably gonna close out early tonight. It was a short lesson, so we don't need to go till 9:30 if we don't have to. Only other thing that I saw that caught my attention was when he was talking about the dolls. But to my knowledge, the whole issue with the dolls and the perception of beauty, I thought that didn't happen until like the 50s, but obviously Garvey transitioned in the 40s. So like this would be another, another time where Garvey's ahead of his time,
Well, that's why he created the doll factory.
Yeah.
And they so that young girls would have black dolls to play with. He was always ahead of his time.
And while I was in California, I learned how to make black dolls. And one day I would like for us to make them again and to have that as our fundraising, as well as the fact that we would give them to our children.
You know, at some point, Division 121, I think it was through Brother Kabir, was trying to host like a doll collection, a black doll collection, to be able to like trade, give away dolls to young girls and black families that didn't have access to them or did not have them. So perhaps we can start to invoke something like that within our divisions, most especially because holiday time is coming, and it's time to, that moves right on into like Black History time and all that sort of thing. So perhaps like now would be a good time to start doing something that's similar, collecting dolls and black toys, just all learning and fun and activity materials that children would be able to have and make use of.
Yes. It's interesting that this came up because we just had a meeting with President Clyde and the Division of Labor and Industries. And that's not dolls specifically, but we were talking about economic opportunities that we can pursue either locally or nationally. So we're trying to put things on the table, and this could be one of those things of recreating a doll factory. But I'll share that with President Clyde.
Every year here in Washington, we have a black, what's called a busy bee. And at the busy bee, it's like a store in a sense. It's like a big workshop where a bunch of vendors come and they sell their wares. And there's usually at least 3, maybe 4 sisters there selling different kinds of dolls. And, that might be something that we can push with our Buy Black campaign.
Yeah.
Because every year when she does this thing, she starts in November, right after Thanksgiving, the Saturday and the Sunday after that, and then in December every weekend up until the end of Kwanzaa. And it's like 50, 60 vendors in this church, and they're selling their stuff. And like I said, there's several doll manufacturers. There are a number of sisters that make dolls. And I don't know, Sister Mukaraba may want to get involved in doing a workshop and teaching some of these young ladies how to do that. And make money when she does it.
Yep. Yeah. It's an opportunity to learn some skills as well as, some skills that can bring in some resources. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'll be pleasure and honored to do it. I did get teaching into the Barack Obama Leadership Academy. I was teaching sewing this past year, after school program. I haven't heard if they're going to have me again this year, but even people who learn how to sew make a lot of money. If you work for those big companies, you make $64 an hour. And if you're a designer, in which that's what we are going to aim to do, you can make $1,200 a week if you're a designer for those guys. But we're going to make our own. That'd be much better.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have anything else. If there weren't any other questions or comments, we can move to close.
I'd like to point out, I think there were two things in here that like really hit home for me. Well, that I thought was important. The one where we should not make distinctions within our race as to color differences. I think that's really important. It's important, but it's like a two-edged sword for us, because sometimes we reach out and we trust, and then people go the other way. But we should, as long as the other world isn't considering you, as long as the other folks don't consider you white, if what is it, one drop of black blood?
Yeah.
What they used to say.
Yeah.
And you know, looking at Mr. Garvey, he was, you know, going when they were going to Liberia, he's talking about, you know, octoroon and, you know, where these people have to be looking pretty white. They don't have that much black in them.
Right.
So he did open the doors, and I think we have to be aware of that. And then the other one is where he talks about the racial purity, the campaign of racial purity. But where I like when he says, you know, it's like closing ranks where we make it good and positive to be, and I think that's the best way to do it, where everything moral and social is within the race. I don't know how we get there, but that's what I think we have to be working on. If we make everything that's good and positive black, then we don't really have to worry about people.
Yeah.
They'll be coming in. So
Yeah. Thank you, Secretary.
yeah. And thank you. It was a good session.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So yeah, throughout the week, review lesson 2, study it, you know, do the best we can to commit this information to memory. And when we come back next week, I'll have some questions that I pull from this lesson so that, you know, we can go over it together, and then we'll start lesson 3, foundational for the UNIA, but the aims and objects of the UNIA-ACL will be next week. Any closing comments?
Very good session, brother. Very good.
Thank you, Third Assistant PG. All right, won't hold anybody longer than we need to. We will close out with our motto, like we always do. If you would, please come off mute, repeat after me. One God.
One God.
One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One
Destiny.
Africa.
Africa.
For the Africans.
For the
Africans.
Those at home.
Those
at home.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
Race first, family.
Race first.
Race first.
May
Everybody
God
be
give you
safe.
good reward.
Everybody get safe.
Okay.